Hi, YouTube audience. This is your host, Della Hill, for the Extraordinary Talk Show. We are setting up. Our show wasn't scheduled to start for about 30 minutes. I like to get it set up and turned on because I have about 5 different things I have to start before we start on actual live radio. So I always start this one first. And thank you guys for hanging out with me and just watching me while I fumble around waiting for the time to start. I hope you guys are excited about today's show. It's going to be good, I think. Well, I always think they're going to be good, but I have a lot of thoughts about them leading up to them that make me think they're going to be good. If I didn't think they're going to be good, I wouldn't share them with you. That would just be silly. So thanks for hanging in, and I'll be back. I'll be right here, but I'll talk to you some more in just a minute. Hi, Facebook audience. Thanks for being out there and being ready. I apologize. I didn't actually mean to hit start so early. I was going to wait a couple of minutes until we were closer to actually starting. I have about 5 different things that I have to hit record on before we start, so I have to get all of them actually started before the show goes live, which it does usually at 4:30. But right now at the radio station and some of the other shows and ads we've added in, it's currently pushed back to about 5 to 10 minutes late. But I'm still here. I'm still talking, and we're officially going to start here in just a couple of minutes. So thanks for waiting. We're going to have a great show today. Today we're talking about your superpowers. Your superpowers, and the number one that is the easiest one and most powerful one for you to use right here, right now. So I'll be talking about that more here in just a minute.
St. George, Radio St. George at 100.3 FM. And we welcome you to the Extraordinary Talk Show, a show to help you understand yourself and the world from a new perspective, and in the process, help you find your own personal extraordinary. And now your host for the Extraordinary Talk Show, Della Hill.
Hey everybody, happy Monday. Welcome back to another great episode of the Extraordinary Talk Show. Guys, one of my goals here is to help you understand and recognize how amazing you are. If you could acknowledge, if you could understand the tiniest glimpse, the tiniest fraction of how phenomenal you are, you have no idea how much it would change your world. For one thing, you have no idea how valuable you really are. I'm a person that actually has more of an idea how valuable I am than most people do. I'm not the best on earth, but I'm actually doing pretty well. I have a high degree of self-understanding, and because I have a high degree of self-understanding, I have a high degree of self. I have a high degree of knowing what my values are, how valuable I am, and I acknowledge that in a way that most people don't. And that makes me different. Guys, what I want to tell you today is something that I've learned from experience, not because I went out and said, I'm going to figure this out, but because things happened to me, and then I turned around and went, okay, how did this happen to me? Here's what I'm going to teach you today. This is so big. Loving yourself is your superpower. I've seen t-shirts that say, I make milk. What's your superpower? For, moms that breastfeed their babies. And I think that's phenomenal. I did that for a few years with my kids, and it was awesome. That was a superpower. That one only lasted me for a few years total in my whole life. Whereas loving yourself is a superpower that will guide you your entire life, will take you places, help you see things, give you experiences that you would not have, could not have if you did not acknowledge your own value. Okay, Della, that sounds nice and great, but how do we actually do that? What does that mean? How do we put that into practice? Because I'll tell you what, one thing that I'm a little frustrated with is people that tell me the standard I need to meet without telling me how to get there. In fact, that is one of the reasons why I'm here. Because a few years ago in my life, I had a lot of voices around me that had this standard telling me, this is what you got to do. You have to meet this standard. And if you don't, you're just not good enough. And yet, nobody ever told me how to meet that standard. They said, well, do all the same things that you already know to do. Well, yeah, I've been doing those things and it's not helping. Give me something new. So I want to give you a new way to look at a situation. Look at yourself in a situation and recognize how and why you should love yourself in that situation and be able to do it and see the results from it. When I say that I'm a person who has loved myself for most of my life, I'm lucky. I recognize how lucky I am in that I had that. That doesn't mean that you're not lucky. It doesn't mean that you can't achieve what I've achieved. In fact, once you start, you will skyrocket up because you are that lovable. And the minute you accept the possibility that just maybe a little bit, you could possibly be as awesome as Della says you are, the minute that you start to accept that, your life will begin to change. And mine did. And as I made an effort to love myself more, because I kind of already did, but then I recognized, hey, this is something that's actually valuable and powerful. This is a tool. Loving myself is a tool that I can put in my tool bag. In fact, it's one of the main tools because I actually have a tool in my tool bag at home that I call, it's my 14-in-1. It's my zombie killer. It's one tool that's got a flathead screwdriver and a scraper and a Phillips screwdriver and a bunch of other things, a can opener. This one tool does so many things. Loving yourself is your 14-in-1 tool, except it's like 14 million in one tool for getting through this life. Now, let me give you one example to help you understand and help you see. Anytime two people come together and interact. This could be somebody that you pass in the grocery store. It could be the cashier at the grocery store. It could be your neighbor. It could be someone that comes to your door. It could be your mom. It could be any other person that you're interacting with, because this happens anytime two people come together. Each of those people has a personal agenda in that moment. And the fact is they actually have two personal agendas. The one is to accomplish whatever it is that they're there for, grocery store, shopping, blah, blah. The second one is to be aware of themselves and how they're interacting in the situation. The problem is a lot of times we get so busy in the interaction that we forget to step back and look at the interaction while it's happening. But anytime two people come together, they are going to have one of three attitudes. Each person in the situation, the more people, it stays the same. They're going to have one of three attitudes. And these attitudes can change depending on who you're interacting with and the situation. I even got my handy dandy whiteboard. Check this out. The people that you're going to interact with are going to be either insecure, distracted, or loving. And what that means, let me break it down. The people that are insecure are the people who, the whole time you're interacting, they might be thinking about whatever conversation you're having, but they're also thinking, oh, is there something in my teeth? I'm shorter than them. Are they going to think I'm not nice because I'm short? And man, I'm really glad they can't read my thoughts, because if they knew about that thing I did last week, then they would really hate me for sure. And you have all these thoughts going through in your mind with this insecurity. And because you're interacting with another person and you really, really, really want them to like you. And so in your head, you're going through all the list of the possible reasons why they might not like you. And all of your attention and focus is spent being insecure rather than connecting with that person. Okay, the second type is the distracted person. This is a person who maybe they're insecure about themselves, maybe they're not. Maybe they're incredibly haughty. Maybe they're very arrogant. Regardless, they're distracted when they're talking to you because in one way that's similar to the first way, the insecure, they don't care about you. They're not making judgments about you. They're so worried about themselves and whatever it is that they have to go do. Maybe they're late to pick up their kid at soccer, or maybe they're stressed out about all the other things that they have in their life. The point is they're not thinking about you. They're distracted with all their other stuff. They're distracted thinking about how awesome they are. They're distracted thinking about how awful they are. They're distracted thinking about all the other things. The point is, none of that is about you. The one thing that could happen is they could make a comparison about themselves against you. But what you got to understand is if they're making a comparison about themselves against you, what they're doing is trying to make themselves feel better, because comparison is always judgment, and judgment never brings joy. Also, the comparison that they're making is based on the projection of their own personal perception, and it has nothing to do with you. And they might speak out loud a judgment or they may not. Regardless, it has nothing to do with you, even if it's about you, because it's not about you, it's about them. And all they're doing is using this momentary glimpse and this teeny tiny little interaction that they get to have with you, and they're using that as a basis and deciding everything about your whole life and then comparing themselves to you. And obviously, in that moment, that cannot be an accurate comparison. That cannot be an accurate judgment. And it does not matter what they say, think, feel, do about you. It's not about you. It's about them. They might refer to you when making their own personal projection, but their personal projection is about them. So I want you to understand, when you interact with someone else, they're either going to be insecure and spend the whole interaction worried about how you're viewing them, and did they have broccoli stuck in their teeth, and did they comb their hair right, and are you looking at them funny? They're spending all their time thinking about that. They're not thinking about you, other than to think, I wonder if they're going to like me. I wonder if they're going to like me. I wonder if they're going to like me. Do you understand that almost everybody that you meet, in the back of their head, is begging you to like them? And if you're one of those people that's sitting there going, I hope they like me, I hope they like me, I hope they like me, realize, take a second and realize they're doing the same thing. They're over there going, I hope she likes me, I hope he likes me, I hope they like me. You're both sitting there hoping and praying that the other one likes you, and you're tripping over yourselves because you're hoping so much and not actually just doing it. So here's the thing, instead of hoping that they like you, put your focus on liking them. That teeny tiny little thing will change every interaction that you have. Okay, now if you interact with somebody who is not necessarily insecure and not necessarily distracted, there's one other option. And these are very, very vague generalities. I get it. The one other option, and this is your goal, is to not be insecure and not be distracted, but to go into that interaction loving. And what I mean by that is you go into it with an attitude of loving yourself and reminding yourself that no matter how this interaction came together, your purpose here is not to try to be liked, because whether or not they like you does not matter. Your purpose here is to know that right here, right now, whatever happens later doesn't matter. Right here in this moment, in this interaction, you are enough. You have enough knowledge, enough personality, enough eyesight, enough voice. Any interaction that you are in right here, right now, for this 15 seconds, 15 minutes, however long it's going to take, stop thinking about whether people like you and worry about liking them. Come in to the interaction, not insecure, not distracted, but loving. If you can remind yourself that this other person is stressed out so much over them making a mistake, over whether or not they're going to screw up, you can kind of laugh a little bit and go, I don't have to try to impress them. Look how hard they're trying to impress me. And when you see how hard the other people are actually working to impress you, and they are, first of all, you got to step over your own insecurity. I'm not saying you got to get over it, because it doesn't happen that easy. I understand. Just step over it. For this 30-second interaction that you're having with this person at the store, step over your insecurity. Stop looking at all of your insecurity and recognize that they are insecure. Recognize the fear behind their eyes. And so much of the time you can see it, and it's sad. See the fear behind their eyes that you're not going to like them. And when you step over your own insecurities and you look deeply at that person, even if it's a 15-second interaction helping somebody get something off the tall shelf at the store, for that 15 seconds, whether or not they like you doesn't matter. In fact, whether or not you like yourself essentially doesn't matter. All that matters is, can you give them what they need from you in that moment? And maybe that's to get something off the top shelf. Maybe it's to answer a question. Maybe it's something bigger and deeper. But you go into the interaction with the question in your mind, how can I help you? What can I do for you? How can I love you? And it's fascinating when you come into a situation from a loving perspective. And you don't have to necessarily love yourself wholeheartedly every morning when you wake up in order to be able to do this. You just have to, for the length of this interaction, step over your insecurities. They can still be there. You know they're still going to be back there. But for this moment, just step over them and know that for this moment, they don't matter. Because for this moment, what matters is seeing the person that you're talking to and seeing their struggle with their own insecurities. And then seeing past their insecurities and seeing their heart. Because aren't you more than your insecurities? Don't you have a loving heart? Don't you want to share that with others? Don't you want to see that in others? And if you can step over your own insecurities, if you can turn aside from your own distractions, if you can look at that person and recognize that no matter what their insecurities are, they are trying to love themselves just like you are trying to love yourself, magic happens. And when you do this, you guys, you have to test it. This is one of those things that you can't believe me just because I tell you. You have to test this. And you can do this in teeny tiny interactions. You can do it when you buy your stick of gum at the grocery store or the gas station. Do it with the person there. Step up to that desk. Step up to that cashier saying, okay, for right now, all the things that are wrong with me that I think are screwed up don't matter. For right now, for this moment, for this interaction, I'm going to look this person in the eye and I'm going to give them whatever love I have to give. Because they are distracted. They are insecure. They are hurting. And maybe I am too, but for this minute, for this moment, for right here, right now, I'm going to look past my own insecurities so that I can look past their insecurities, so I can see their heart. And you might have been lucky enough to have somebody do this with you. And maybe it was a stranger, and maybe it was somebody that you know and that you love. But it's pretty fascinating when it happens, when somebody looks into your eyes with no expectation, with no judgment. The only thing you can see in their eyes is a desire to love and help you. Man, that's magical. That is magical. And magical healing takes place in that moment. Because when you can step over your insecurities and love someone past their own insecurities, magic happens for you. All of a sudden, all those insecurities that you needed a cane to climb over, now all of a sudden aren't that big. And the insecurities that you looked past in that other person, it was so easy for you to look past those things because you knew you had a crap ton pile behind you bigger than what they have. So it's easy. It's so easy to look past your own insecurities so that you can look past someone else's insecurities. When you want to compare your insecurities to somebody else, you can do that. I guarantee you can. You can build, and that's what we're doing when we're making judgments, is we're comparing all the things that we're insecure about with someone else and all the things that we think
KDXI
that they're insecure about, but they're not. Or maybe they are, and it doesn't matter. This is a recipe. This is how you love yourself. This is how you learn to love yourself, by momentarily stepping over all the reasons that hold you back from loving yourself. All of those insecurities that you needed a cane to climb over, if you can just step over them for a minute and see past them, it's pretty fantastic. And when you can see past your own insecurities in order to see past someone else's insecurities and you can love them, you don't only give love to them, you also give love to you. And when you do that, you love yourself more and that pile of insecurities gets smaller. And if that's your end goal, great, but it doesn't have to be your end goal. What I want you to do is practice interacting with other people, recognizing that they are as insecure as you are or more. I want you to practice interacting with other people, remembering that they want you to like them even more than you want them to like you. Something else too, there's a really powerful thing that happens. I'm sorry, guys. My train of thought got derailed. The more you're able to look at someone and recognize how much they want to be loved? Right now, you're so busy worrying about wanting to be loved that you can't see how much other people want to be loved. Once you can look past your own desires of wanting to be loved and you can see how much other people want to be loved, you can give them that love. And in doing so, it gives yourself that love, because you cannot feed someone else love without paying yourself back more. My friend Cody calls it selfishly caring. They did a study about popular people, right? High schools as well as adults, popular people. And the thing about popular people is not that they are liked by the most people. That's not what makes them popular. When they've studied this, it's not that so many people like that person and that's why they're popular. It's that that person likes so many others. When you're voting in the popularity contest, you're not voting for the person that you like. You're voting for the person that likes you. So to be the popular person, like everyone else. It's that easy. But here's where the tricky part is: you might be tempted to pretend to like them. You might be tempted to give them lip service, because that's what you're used to. That's what you're familiar with. That's what you think you've always been getting. When you can, this is the trick, guys, notch it up. Go into every interaction with a desire to like that person. And then, here's where you throw some bam on it. Go into that interaction with the desire to love that person, to show them love. Go into that interaction with the desire that when you walk out of it, that person will feel more loved than they were before. And the more you do this, the more confidence it gives you, and the more you bless the world. And as you raise your vibration, others around you cannot help but raise their vibration. And as you do this, you will gain a greater understanding of yourself. As you do this, you'll look at other people's insecurities and see that your own don't matter. And when you truly, truly love yourself, you begin to understand that the projections that other people are putting on you, the judgments that they're making about you, aren't about you, they're about them. That they are laying their own filter of perception on you and writing labels. But that is their perception. You would not, should not put those labels on yourself. And they shouldn't either, but that's not your problem. Not your problem. Your problem is loving yourself. That's the only thing you got to worry about. And when you realize that other people are making judgments and projections about you based on their own perception, it gets a little bit easier. And if you can go into every interaction knowing both me and this person are going to come out of this loving ourselves more, man, it makes you want to change every interaction. For me, my journey forward, my journey to understanding myself and the world better, a really huge, tremendous key of that, which I say huge and tremendous because it matters so much, not because it's hard to do. But the key is learning to love unconditionally. Yourself, others, environments, situation. When you can have unconditional love in every time, place, situation, you are unstoppable. And let me leave you with this idea. When you love yourself, what other people say, what other people think, what other people do, how other people project, how other people judge, does not matter to you. And think about this. If you no longer cared how other people reacted based on your actions, what would become possible for you? And remember, in your journey to love unconditionally, loving yourself is your first lesson. I'm Della. This is The Extraordinary Talk Show. Please check out The Extraordinary Talk Show on YouTube, The Extraordinary Talk Show YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, smash the notification button, all of those YouTubery things. And thank you so much for being here and listening and caring about yourself enough to want to love yourself more. You're winning already. That's Della. This is The Extraordinary Talk Show. Remember, I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm here to encourage you to think for yourself.